Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant.
My name is Niels Winter, and I am the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent, non-commercial podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. I slowly built up information and content on different funding schemes. I started out with Horizon Europe Pillar 2 and have moved into European Defence Fund, the ERC, and the Erasmus Plus programs. More is to come, even. The next 2 weeks I will be looking into proposal preparation within the Erasmus Plus funding scheme. As regular listeners will know, I have developed a timeline series that goes through the proposal preparation process step by step. That is for Horizon Europe Pillar 2 proposals, but has a lot of generic elements that also apply to funding schemes in general. However, there are important specificities for each funding scheme and how to prepare the proposals for each of them. To provide guidance on how to prepare a proposal for the Erasmus Plus program, I have invited 3 strong capacities on Erasmus Plus into the virtual podcast studio. Daiana Huber, Chief Operations Officer, CPIP, Christina Achilleos, Founder and EU funding expert from InnoEUspere, and Ulla-Alexandra Mattl, Director and Consultant from Eurakom. I have all years of practical experience developing proposals for the Erasmus Plus program. In the first half of this double episode released last week, we focused on the preparation process for the writing phase. In this second half, the 3 panelists take the bull by its horns and share how they put their pen to paper. They give their recommendations on how to attack the different sections and the budget, of course. And in the end, we shortly touch on the actual submission itself. This is a must listen for all Erasmus Plus proposal developers, no matter the experience. Please enjoy.
The Grant. For the sake of timing, we should move on to the actual writing. So pen to paper, because we will need to run through the different sections of what will meet people when they sit down and start to write these things, right? We already talked about delegating, writing. How much do you prefer to do yourself? Maybe we just attack the sections. Yeah. So what sections do you have in the typical Erasmus Plus proposal? Who wants to share that with the dear listeners? Daiana.
Okay. I was about to share what I start with. But in general, we have explanation of the topic. We have concordancy or alignment with the priorities. We have an explanation of the target group, if it's a special needs target group, or what kind of learners are we engaging with. Then we have description of the partners. Then we have the aim and the objectives. Then we have the discussion about how innovative it is, why you needed to do it in a European partnership, what is the European partnership bringing as an added value opposite of you doing it only at national level. It says if it has been done before in other initiatives or not, things like that. And then you go to, the form goes automatically and describes the partners. And then you have the, how are they called? Outputs, I think they're called. Because they keep changing.
Work packages.
Now we have the work packages. Okay.
No, it's work packages now.
Yes, now it is work packages. It has been results, it has been outputs. So obviously we are not very aligned with our terminology, but we go with the flow. So it's work package. And then you have the possibility to explain the philosophy of the work package, then to explain the practicality, bullet line, who does what and why, and then to explain if you translate it or not, if it's printed or electronic or whatever, the result, and who is engaged to allocate the partners so that then they are automatically allocated in the budget. Mm-hmm. Once you've done this with the work packages, then you have the Multiplier event, if you want to have multiplier events, it's like a dissemination workshop or something like that. Then you have the learning experience, learning, however they're called, where you organize specific learning activities where people get to go abroad or not, things like that. There is also the section with the management where you explain how you manage the project and if you have transnational meetings. Then there is a section with the impact, the sustainability, the dissemination part. That's in general the outline. And sometimes my head gets a bit blurry between the centralized and the decentralized ones, because even if theoretically some are under the same DG, words mean different things in different forms. They're not unified.
You see, and this is, of course, take the last thing first. That's something we cannot do anything about, but we can complain about it. And we can say that it's not, and that it's not very, just use it. I'm a big defender of standardization. For Christ's sake, standardize things so people can understand across, so they don't get confused when they approach the taxpayers' money from your funding. But this is political. It's internal political fights and strides and whatever in the commission, things we don't even know anything about. So that's that. And yes, you have a good, nice list of things there you need to fill in. Now, you said I would have liked to start with how I start, Daiana. So now I put you on the spot with telling us what the sections are. So you can now share with us how you are approaching this to start with.
I think a good way, or a way that buys you time for the creative side, because not all creative, they're technical, they are dependable, and they are creative. So there are three things. The creative, I need time, I need inspiration. The divine light needs to hit my head, otherwise it doesn't happen anything. And that happens on the last 24 hours, so I cannot kill other people waiting for me. I start with the things that are the dependables. My manager needs a list of activities from my hand in such a way that are logic, that she can create the budget. I don't do the budgets. I have someone else that does the budgets, our financial expert, which is the manager of the organization. So that one goes out first, because partners need to vet it, to see if I'm not really writing science fiction, to check if that is plausible for them, if that is reachable. If they have any comments, I need time, even if it is 2 days for feedback, but I need those 2 days to get feedback. Then my manager needs at least 3 days to put together the budget. Even if there is this whole marketing idea that we work on lump sums and you just put some numbers there and they will magically create your budget. No, it is like a hailstorm behind to create a detailed Excel with all sorts of science fiction things there that I honestly don't get how she manages to do it. And then we need real figures, salaries, how much it costs that and that. So I need to give her a list of activities. So then she does her thing, partners do their thing, and then I buy time to do the creative. Because the creative is the only little fragment where no one can replace me, because it's there, the philosophy. In the technical part, I can be replaced.
So this is where the creative part of writing a proposal, that can be tricky if you don't have that poet in your heart, right? If you're a PhD, if a PhD in a subject, if you are very knowledgeable about whatever you're doing, that doesn't make you a born writer. Yeah, that's just how it is. So this is what many consultants struggle with. No matter that they win and are thriving as a consultant, the writing and creativity part is an issue. And the way I have worked with this is that I've worked in pairs. So it often helps to be inspired when you talk to other people about it. So internally in the organization, I would work 2 and 2 to have 1 to, and I was not writing the part. Few times I did, and sometimes I did myself. It was horrible, but when I was not writing, it was a help. I was a help for the one who did write, that we could share and exchange once in a while. Also with key partners, for instance, maybe take a short meeting on discussing on, hey, how do we angle this in the, like the creative shaping the actual idea to make it, wow, how on earth did they think that up? Why have we not done this yet? Christina, how do you work with this fluish thing that Daiana has just very shed light on? How do you work with it?
Okay, so I can honestly confirm that I am also very much into analyzing the creative parts of the proposals, especially for these 2 calls for the cooperation, partnerships, and alliances for innovation. It's really something, a process that I enjoy. Okay. Being also very organized, because I also have a very rational, let's say, point of view of myself. I'm also really good in explaining all the methodology and all the administration, let's say, burden of the proposal. Although I don't like it, I'm honest. I mean, I really prefer to write sections like aligning the priorities, what's the gap, what's the challenge, what's the innovation of the project, the impact. I love the impact. But still, okay, someone has to also write the nasty parts, let's say, which I definitely call the, management and quality assurance and the budget, which is definitely not my favorite story. But yes, okay. So for the budget especially, I usually ask for, depending on the call, or daily rates of the partners, so to be as realistic as possible, and always try to budget the tasks under the work package, let's say, activities, in a very pragmatic way, realistic way again, so that the evaluator can see that, okay, these guys really know what they're talking about. If you're like putting up figures out of nowhere, it doesn't add up, to the presentation of the overall project or proposal, let's say. So yes, Niels, to answer your question, I write all the parts. I love the creative parts. I don't like the administration ones, but I do it.
Ulla, are you a poet?
For me, it's like a piece of art. It's like as I said, I'm not
your hands, the sculpture.
I'm not right. No, I'm not. But I'm not writing that many proposals. So for me, it's like a real sort of piece of perfection, almost. Like I enjoy it, but it comes together from all sides somehow, like a painting, and I review it many times. I think what happens, what I see a lot, is that the questions are not answered. Like you have to really answer exactly the question. I mean, sometimes you kind of know if you. I mean, the very simple thing is read the question. Sometimes the answers I read when I evaluate, they don't correspond to what's in the question. Or not exactly, somehow, kind of, but not really. And you can already, it's like an art also to say, okay, how can I make this answer this question perfectly? And it's I take the time to do that. And I think that has helped. What else?
Do you use anyone else to yourself, or do you trust your own evaluator capacities?
Well, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I review myself a lot.
Excellent.
But since I collaborate a lot on proposals, yes, we review each other. And so that obviously helps. And then you comment. I always work on Google Docs, and then people comment in the document, and you review it and you answer, and so it's like a working document until the very end with the people you work with. And also internally you distribute the work and review a section and so on. But I start at the beginning and I finish at the end. I don't start with the end. I mean, some people start with certain aspects. I really start the first right at the beginning and I finish at the very end. I mean, that's how I do it. And the very last thing is the budget. For me, it's interesting what you said, Daiana. I do the budget at the very end.
But this is actually, so this is interesting. Here we're at a core thing here, right? Because everybody who's been writing a proposal knows that the budget is the real heart of the proposal. This is where people get angry. This is where people really. This is where everything. That's what everything comes down to in the end. So what are the efforts? Yeah, and if that's not calibrated right, then you have all the fights. I've been having lots of episodes on this in this podcast, digging into what it actually is to put together a budget. I would say, so I understand what you do, because this is also what I have been doing sometimes when I preparing proposals from start to end. But sometimes I would have wished I would have started with the budget earlier. So what I tried to do, the last couple of proposals I prepared, hopefully the last in my life, I asked partners 3 months before submission, what's your budget expectation? So I made a shadow budget, so I wouldn't get any surprises later on when we had to discuss in the end about the budget, right? So it's. But I understand the approach. But
it has to do with experience. If you are not that experienced, you need to do the budget earlier, because you are maybe not as good at assessing how much time and money you can allocate to each of the activities. But when you are used to the structure of a project, and there are not a million different ways of structuring an Erasmus project, it's always kind of the same system, more or less. Then you already know how to structure it. And also when you have an idea where the partners are based, in terms of how much budget they will need, because depending on where they are, they get more or less budget. There are these things when you have quite a lot of experience, you can judge, you understand how to build the project, and you can do the budget at the end. But I agree that if you don't have a lot of experience, it makes sense to do the budget maybe in parallel to developing the activities, to have an understanding how you can distribute it best.
Thanks, but the thing is, I'm not a good proposal preparer. So, well spotted. And but there is also a huge difference, as I can very well now deduct, between Erasmus and huge Horizon Europe proposals that I've been dealing with. There's a fundamentally a big difference in some of these elements. It's let me see here. Now, I sort of had the idea that we would go through the proposal section by section, but I don't know if that makes sense. What would you highlight from the proposal process when you run through? So you, Daiana, you beautifully went through all the categories, but what would you highlight in an episode like this if you need to explain people which sections are key? Yeah, Ulla?
I think there is something else that is really important, and that's to look at, for example, the national priorities. For example, each country has national priorities, so that is something that needs to be taken into account. And there are a few things, like before you actually get to the writing, and also the consideration of where the project is submitted. because the different agencies have different requirements of a successful proposal. Like, for example, they want more than one partner from this specific country to fund the project in a certain sector, or their focus is really on something rather specific, or they give more money to projects in this sector than in another sector. So there are these sort of things that are, you can write the most amazing proposal, but if there is no money available for the kind of idea you're developing, then it's a bit of a lost game. And one other aspect I think is essential is, especially in some countries, to organize meetings with the agency and discuss the proposal, for them to review the proposal. And in some countries, it's almost like an entry ticket to get funded. If you take their suggestions on board, you implement them in your proposal, you implement the feedback of the agency, your chances are increase a lot. So there are these things to know also, which have to be integrated into the writing process, which means like at a certain stage of your writing, you, for example, meet with the agency and you get this feedback before you finalize your writing. So I think there is this also, I think we should keep in mind.
Christina and Daiana, is this something that you do? You recognize this?
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the trade of our professions, to know the landscape and to be aware that you write an application, but not always you are submitting that application. I might be writing an application, but I find it best to suit the priorities in Slovenia, then I'm going to ask the Slovenian partner to be the applicant, because it has the correct characteristics and there are more winning slots there. And this is another signpost, which is a horrible thing for our industry that doesn't get discussed. And I hate that we are not having the hard talks. There are projects that are not funded and they have in evaluation 80 points in one national agency, and in another national agency, a project that has 70 points gets funded. And that is an issue of the DGs and how they coordinate with the national agency. But more than that, there is the issue of the evaluator. And there are a lot of colleagues that signal this. There are not enough evaluators specialized that went through project implementation, that understand how things work, that understand European priorities, that because if you are also writing, also evaluating, not a lot of our colleagues can do this switch, and for sure not in the same country. You definitely shoot yourself in the leg, at least for that financial exercise, if you do that. It is a complicated and a fine line to walk. And then we look who are our evaluators and how much money is in the national agency for subcontracting good quality evaluators. This is something that needs to be discussed on a bigger picture and by the seniors of our industry, and to have a talk also with the people that manage the funds, because this is not going on an okay route. But other than that, yes, be aware that you might need to apply elsewhere in other country for other national agency that has other priorities, and be aware that the copyright of the application form belongs to the applicant. No one cares who wrote it.
And basically what you're saying is that you would prefer a system with a centralized evaluation.
Yes. Yes.
Which
I can find another 200 colleagues, senior colleagues of our industry, that would vote yes for that.
Now, I have absolutely, because I don't know enough about the political background for why they have done this. But of course, I can imagine that this is a member state thing. This is something that has been where the member state has been pushing for because it's educational policy. Maybe there's something about educating kids, stuff like this, that some countries might have a big issue with, should be centralized to the Commission and so on. But if they can centralize the research and development, core things to develop a society, I don't see why on earth there should be an issue to centralize trainings and education.
I don't know. It's a subsidiarity of education policy. It's not a European competence as such officially. So that's partially the reason, I think.
And this is why each national agency has a percentage of adaptability to create specific projects that are in tune with local priorities. For example, investing in rural organization, or promoting organizations that are newcomers, or promoting organizations that deal with a specific target group. From call to call, these little tweaks change, and also the budgetary distribution is different from national agency to national agency. Some invest more in schools. For example, in Romania, if you want to apply for schools, you have much more generous budget than for adult education, because we don't want to acknowledge that in Romania, adult education is underground and in the graveyard. So then we forget about that and we put money into schools. So from national agency to national agency, there is a degree of variety.
Mm-hmm. I need to get us a little bit back on track in relation to the pen to paper part. I know this is important. It's good. I have it brought it up. Thanks, Ulla. But what I would need to, just for the listeners to have just a little bit of guidance. So what I did in my Horizon Europe Pillar 2 timeline series, when I walked through how to prepare a proposal, I first went through what does it say in the template and how do you attack that. We don't have the time to go through all this in this episode, and I didn't want it to be like this. That's why you're all three here. That took me 6 episodes to do that in the other part. But at least, how detailed are the template on what you need to describe? Because in the Horizon template, it's fairly detailed on what they want. So how is it here with the impact, with the project idea and so on? Is it just describe the idea, or how detailed is the what you have to write up against? Christina, maybe you take this.
Okay, so speaking about the cooperation partnerships call, through the new programming period, we have seen a revamped, let's say, template, not completely different than what it used to be in the past, but we had definitely the introduction of work packages. In the past, it used to be intellectual outputs, then it was result outputs, and then it ended up to being work packages. And what they have done actually in reality, they have created a more compact, let's say, template, and each, let's say, section with subsections is fairly shorter than it used to be in the past. So now you have a minimum of 2,000 characters, maximum 4,000 characters to explain what you need to explain according to each section. Mm-hmm. Also, for example, the subsections under impact don't have the same length as the, let's say, length that you have as a space allowed under explaining your objectives. So you might have 2,000 characters to explain the project objectives, but you have 4,000 characters to explain what is the project impact. Mm-hmm. But definitely you don't, have a lot of allowed space anymore. So you really have to be very, very practical in how you represent the entire project and distributed in the various sections. Mm-hmm. You need to be, very efficient and effective, organized, and still manage to provide the overall value of each section. It's challenging. I will not say it's easy, but still it's a more, let's say, compact way of representing a project.
Mm-hmm. we are breaching a little bit into submission now, because I know it's an online system you have. For most proposals, you have to submit.
For cooperation partnerships, yes. For alliances for innovation, no, we have a Word file template that you need to complete with various sections. I would say that not entirely, but similar to other Horizon calls, but with very different, let's say, peculiarities and specificities. Okay, the scope of the program it's different.
Just going to pause it here. I have a message to the Commission. Could you please standardize these things? Thanks, Christina. What I would like, because you all mentioned impact as important, as both when you're writing, but also when you look beyond. So what's going to happen? How do you work with the impact section? Because you all highlighted it. So I guess, as experienced ones that you are, all three of you, what do you do with it? Have you made a specific way of making that solid? Or Daiana?
For me, it's like, again, how the inspiration strikes, because the impact in my head comes after I managed, cut and squeezed into 4,000 characters, which is horrible because I don't get the flow of writing. But I do it after I've laid out the whys and the how, and why do I believe that we really need this. And then I think, okay, I've got it, I've done it with these people. What happens next? What do I need to set in place to trace during the implementation? What happens after the implementation? What happens? What is it going to change? Am I changing someone's life? Mm-hmm. Is a profession getting better? Are people gonna get more access to learning opportunities? Are professionals going to be better equipped to solve something? Is this of real impact beyond the clickbait terminology of the public policy? Because as both our colleagues said, we work in the background of the social and systemic impact, and we work in the investment of public funding. Mm-hmm. So in what am I going to invest? Is a child gonna go happier to a least aggressive school? Mm-hmm. Then that's my impact. Is a family going to have more opportunities for starting up a new business? And that kind of thing. It is not the impact on my organization, because the funding is not for us. Mm-hmm. The funding is for the people that we are bringing on the European stage. And that is how I see and how I try to put in writing the impact.
Ulla, in our recording on the introduction, you flagged, and you also flagged it earlier today, the sustainability of things after the project stop, and the fact that many organizations, historically anyways, have been following the same money, basically funding their office desk year after year with more or less the same kind of money, with the same kind of things they do. Now, when you write yourself Erasmus proposals, how do you attack this element of sustainability of things moving on afterwards? How do you deal with that?
How do I deal with this? First of all, during the writing process, I mean, it's all interlinked. I mean, we now even have a handbook that has been delivered about how we should structure the proposals in the new program. So it's really, you have the impact kind of ultimately equals the objectives. So you have your objectives. Based on the objectives, you define the activities. The results of that you achieve, they are closely linked to activities, but they also inform the impact. So everything has to be linked. And so when you define your objectives, you're kind of already defining the impact you want to have at the end that you are going to describe. At least that's how I see it, like roughly. What I'm trying to do now is, because, as you said, I am getting quite upset about this idea of sustainability is not, in many cases, let's be frank, the project finishes and it's all over. Apart from, as you said, the hardliners who are passionate and that's the thing they want to do, and they will stay and they will feed the website for another 10 years until they're retired, or I don't know. But yes, this happens, but it doesn't happen very often.
No.
So what do I do? I'm trying to think of innovative ways of keeping it going. For me, I write things that are very closely linked to also what my own company wants to achieve, like our strategic ideas and vision. And then I try to find partners who have a similar vision. So, for example, I wrote a project 2 years ago or a year now, I don't know when, it was not this year, but the year before, that was funded. And where at the end, the plan is to create an incubator. And the idea of this incubator is that we will continue working with this incubator. So we will set it up, and then we will use it for other things that we're doing. And so it's something that has a life after the project. So it stays. And it's something that we're going to completely integrate into our activities. So that's also why I don't write 15 projects a year. I want something that works and that has, there is something afterwards. There is a life, there is a purpose, and it fits into our organizational plan also, and in the plan of the partners.
Okay, thanks. Christina?
So for me, one of the most, let's say, magical things that we can do through Erasmus is building upon existing training methodologies, or even suggesting some new frameworks of training and developing people. And we get this unique opportunity to pilot test some novel, let's say, methodologies that are building on existing frameworks. So if we manage in this very short amount of time, definitely 2 or 3 years project life is not enough to prove things, but it's a very, very good opportunity, yes, to pilot test things. So I really appreciate this aspect of EU-funded programs, and especially Erasmus. So what I would like to highlight in terms of sustainability is that my aspiration is how I can through my company now work on this element of mixing existing and new training methodologies, and how we can deliver or design new projects to be funded after one project is successfully completed and we have data about it, right, from both national and European level. And at the same time, utilize curricula that are being developed through the implementation of these approved projects, and transform them into more dynamic and complete tool sets for developing skills both on a national and European level beyond the scope of European funded programs. So this is how I definitely approach the issue of sustainability. And it's definitely not about maintaining a website alive for 3 years after a project is completed, a standard, promise that we all include in our proposals, or let's say keeping the social media channels live and in line with the target groups, etc. So we really need to, again, take a step back and assess what we have in front of us and continue creating opportunities.
I think this is, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, because this is one of the most difficult questions of all. This is a problem that goes back to the beginning of the EU when they started funding things, and that the sustainability of results, and it's It's
Real challenge. They always say that the majority of projects, once the funding is completed, they get stuck in the drawers. So you don't really utilize them whatsoever after that, and it's really, a real challenge.
Yeah, I just wanted your view on it, because it's something that everybody struggles with in all programs where you're like, what happens afterwards?
Yeah, I think I answered.
Nah, I think time is flying, but I would like to have a touch upon the submission because, and not maybe so much the submission, because that is what it is, but more the system. For people to get a sort of reality check on what will meet them when they do this. So I have tried myself to submit for Life Plus, for Life program, and it is a similar system with boxes with character limits and so on and so forth. And I find it absolutely horrible to work with as a consultant, as a proposal writer, because you have always a Word document you work with. And then you need to put things in, and that's not a problem if you only have to do it once, but that's not how things work, right? So you start filling in the data in the online format sort of, like a week before, something like this. That was what I did, at least. And then comes the changes, and then you need to realize, oh my goodness, where did I change that box? Or so you have to go through. No, how do you work with this, Daiana?
Yes, the platform crashes, it's overused, the deadline gets extended one day before because there's an alarming rate of people signaling they are not able to upload. You enter the PIC number of a partner, and all of a sudden you get another different organization popping in your application form. And yeah, things are of that nature. So resilience is key. I don't know how many colleagues respect that idea of please submit your applications in time before the deadline. I'm not sure if there are a lot of us who are able to work like that. We usually work with a Word document backup from which we put in the online form, because once you've inserted and magically disappears for the 10th time, you are not able to reproduce the same narrative all over again. That's just insane. And the whole online system for us, that this is our daily business, it's not a problem. You can throw any platform at me, I will make it work, because this is what I do daily. But Erasmus is not necessarily for people that do it on a daily basis. And because I'm mentoring a lot of correctional officers how to write Erasmus for their specific prisons, when I started to explain, only then I realized how complicated it is. From the PIC number, OID number, LEAR, legal entity, then you need to allocate. Oh, but I allocated, I don't have the right. Now you have to make the right to modify data. Who signs? Who pushes the button? Agency sees what? Do they track my IP? Do I know if it's from this country or that country? So it's an insane level of things. And if you do the switch between the two platforms, which is SEDI, a platform that goes for the centralized ones, and they operate on a PIC number basis, and you also work with the Erasmus Solidarity Corps platform, which is for the decentralized, and they work on an OID base. It's insane, because I have partners that have OID and they have no idea how to get PIC and to go between the two platforms and to allocate roles and things like that. So it's a bit of a science fiction thingy. So this marketing bullshit that it's democratic for all, free money, come and get it. Really, guys, I mean, how low is that one? You cannot do it straight from the street. It just doesn't work like that.
just a little break. Dear Commission, can you please standardize this? No, because these platforms, I have a very strong opinion about it myself. I like the way Horizon Europe has been done. You cannot get around the PIC number, Daiana. That's just how it is. You need to have some sort of system with that. But what I have a big objection about is these things where you are locked. And everybody knows how these people that have made these systems, they know exactly how you will work when you make a proposal. You write it in a document. So why can they manage in the huge Horizon Europe? Why can they manage to get a PDF document in? Why do Erasmus, why do they have to insist that they can only work with an online model, receiving things like this? It makes me, I get so angry. The people who have invented this should be forced. They should literally be forced to submit 5 proposals in a row in their own system and see how it works. That's out. Ulla?
Yes, I mean, I have the same question because it used to be like that. We used to submit PDFs where we just filled in the PDF, and then we had the little button send, and it went off. That was it. But that was, I'm not sure. That was it
in lifelong learning program, yes. In Leonardo and Grundtvig.
Yes. So we had it like that. I thought that was quite good. The only problem that was you couldn't have 2 people working on the document at the same time. That wasn't possible. But that's all. I mean, that could probably be arranged also in some kind of technical way to have it more accessible. But yeah, I agree.
Christina?
Well, the platform, I don't know, really, guys, needs to change. I mean, they have created this platform for ease of the applicant, and it's really not the case. I mean, we really need to emphasize that this platform is not working. And really, you cannot have, like Daiana said, you cannot have an official submission deadline and you are extending it. Why? Because the platform is crashing. I mean, it was really a weird story during the March deadline this year. And I remember we got stuck with my colleague in Stockholm, and we were like hitting our heads on the wall, always saying, why don't they allow us to prepare like a Word PDF file and just upload it? And that's it. Why do we need to go from one box to the other box to the other box? I mean, come on, literally.
That's what I mean. They should do it themselves. Do it. Go and submit a complex report to your manager in your commission. Go and do it within boxes where you have to fit it in where your assessment. Do it yourself. These people, they have not done it themselves. It's for sure. They have. You know why they've done it like this? Because it's easier for the commission. For some reason, in that department, it's easier for them to get it in like this. And I will never get anyone on the show from the commission who is prepared to put themselves in the firing line of this issue. It's never going to happen. I've asked it publicly to them at a live information day in the Charlemagne building, and everybody. It was like a gasp went through the whole audience. It's like nobody dares to ask these questions. But the only thing they could say was, yes, we are aware of, and blah, 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 and but nothing changes.
What I would like to add to this process, however, is a key for the future applicants that want to apply for cooperation partnerships. Just fix the administration side of your proposal early on. So have your partners collect their profile information, upload the information on the system, release the mandates, send them for signatures, and have them ready, I would say 1 month before the submission deadline. So your head is at ease that I have done the administration, obligations of this project, and now I can focus on the real work. You understand? So I think this is a key, let's say, advice for future applicants. Sorry, Daiana. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say yes, right. Fix that in advance. Make sure everyone has their PIC number. Don't trust anyone until you see the number and you validate it and it spits out what it's supposed to do. What I wanted to say that for us, after a while, as senior developers, it would be very helpful, and it is public money. We are supposed to have this information. I want to see, when I put a PIC number, I want to see all the public funding that PIC number received. Why is that such a mystery? I want to see all the bloody projects that partner was involved in, not on Erasmus only, because this is cross platforms. I need to see who am I putting, because at one point we are writing public policy projects. We are writing things that lead a bit in an innovative way, certain things in education, or put certain accents in the philosophy of what we are doing. I need to backtrack my partners across the section. I want to be able to argue an idea saying that for the past 10 years, public funding has been invested in 5 countries to support this idea because I have your data and the results show A, B, and C. Why am I not allowed to see this? Because it's public money and I'm a citizen that contributes to that public money. And that is one of the philosophical and fundamental problems in our profession, because it's a bit gray area of where actually money goes.
Germans would probably say GDPT. GDPR.
The second that you accept to be on the platform with a PIC number, has anyone read the disclaimers, what we are all agreeing with? Because all our data are to be made public related to the funding, not with the application. God forbid, that's like the sacrosanct of all. The application forms are not public domain, and the applicant has the copyright for them. So as a caveat, if anyone on this planet is trying to sell grant development software that has been trained on one applications, is either lying or committing felony. Just to get the air clear, because I'm up to here colleagues promoting this thing. Application forms with whatever is written in there are under copyright protection. You cannot make them available willy-nilly all over the place without the approval of the applicant. But yeah.
Thanks, Daiana. I think we've actually finished. As finished as you can get with this topic. Now, before we move into the toughest challenge, that you all know the drill, is there anything else you want to add?
I think for submission, maybe it's worth for somebody who wants to apply to understand you have 2 ways. One is you are the coordinator and you submit, or you get the credentials or login details from the coordinator and you submit using their profile. Or you can do it as a non-applicant by going to the Solidarity Corps website, where you can enter the PIC number of the coordinator or applicant, and you can write the proposal as a non-applicant. I think that's an interesting thing maybe for people to understand.
It's a classic for consultants writing for someone, that they need to deal with this. So thanks for that. The grand toughest challenge. What did I put? What's the toughest challenge developing an Erasmus Plus proposal? The online system.
If I may say something that is dear to my heart and also very heavy, know your science. Know your science. Don't write crappy things just because they sound nice. please, if you write on schools, please read the fundamentals, read what is a curricula, read about teacher training. Don't presume that just because everyone gets to have an opinion on education, this is not a proper science. I promise pedagogy, educational science, and sciences of learning are pure, like mathematics, like physics, like we have proprietary terms, we have hierarchy of knowledge, we have scientists, we have like huge pillars and moguls in leading this research, and at least read the fundamentals. And don't confuse a skill with an attitude, with a competence. Know your wording, because whatever gets done, and it's done like over the knees, putting words left and right, you are discrediting a profession, and that's not cool. And really, that's not cool. It's like me trying to have a negotiation that Pythagoras is not really Pythagoras, and it applies only in Greece because he was Greek, and so on, and done with it. Educational sciences are a science. Please read before writing the application form. That's my personal little pain.
Yeah. Ulla?
I think I would say something like a proposal is like making a good cocktail. You need a lot of ingredients, but you need to have the right measure of each one of them. And I think you have to take them all seriously. You need to have the right partners. You need to have the right amount of time. You need to be organized. You need to have something that makes sense. You need something that has impact. You need something that partners are going to be committed to. So there are, it's almost a checklist. You need to have all the ingredients, and then you need to make sure that you have the right mix of these ingredients. I think that's a challenging thing because you never know. Every project is different, every topic, every partnership. It's always a new journey. It's not like we have done it 100 times that it can't go wrong. So we always have to play with these ingredients and make it work. So that's always a challenge every time.
Thanks. Christina?
So one of my biggest fears, especially when I'm really working on a project that I am passionate about, okay? My biggest worry is, who is this project going to end up with? Being the evaluators, of course. And if
That's
they will
Ulla.
understand what this project is all about, okay? Because many times we are really a great team. We all align between us. We really want to develop this project. We have added all our inputs, everything. And, and it's also what Daiana said before. It's also a matter of where we apply. So why should the project be regarded as top or less than top, depending on the country that we apply? So yes, I mean, when working with a project idea like that, and we really want to have this project funded, and the evaluators will not get the idea, this is where, my biggest challenge with the program lies.
Yeah. I think, thanks. I consider also that must be frustrating to work with. But I think what I always come down to in these talks that I have with people on preparing and how to, it always ends up with, well, first of all, focus on what's the evaluation criteria, and 2, the first 2 pages. You can win a proposal by the first 2 pages. So what you said earlier, Diana, about really, that's how you get those first 2 pages about. I get it. Now I've been doing this for more than a year, and evaluators, or have been related to evaluators, they all say the same. You can catch us on the first 2 pages, and then if you catch our heart in the beginning, then we are willing, because it's psychology. If you like it, then you see you can. Okay, it's okay. here's a 5. It's fine, because I want to see this through. How is that with you, Ulla? Are you that kind of evaluator?
No, actually, I am happy. I have seen some indie bad proposals. I'm happy when I see some first 2 pages and they're really good. And then I get twice as disappointed when it gets worse as I read along. And by the end of it, nothing works anymore. Or you see that there has been a lot of time invested into the first 2 pages, and then somehow they run out of time, and it shows very badly. Or the budget.
I must say the other evaluation, they didn't say that you should not concentrate also. But at least you know how it is. Sometimes when you get back an evaluation summary report, you think, but what? Are they lowering my grade because I haven't adjusted the communication labels here? What? Why? What? It looks like they just had to find something, because. But if you make so if those 2 pages are right and that you've done your proper job with in the strong competition you have. So the last 95% is solid, but the 2 first pages, that just makes all the fireworks blow off.
I don't know. Yeah. It's more complex than that. And I think when we talk about cooperation partnerships, it's different with every agency. I evaluate for 2 agencies, and they all have different methods. They all have different types of experts. And sometimes the issue is that they're very, their expertise is sector specific, but not topic specific. So they don't know anything.
Exactly.
They don't but they know nothing about prisons or other areas. So they don't understand the need or the necessity of a certain topic.
Exactly. This is why I said you don't know where your project or who the project is going to end up with, right? Yes.
If it's somebody who has no interest for prisons, then that's an issue maybe. I mean, you never know. It's really like a lottery. It's a lottery.
Daiana?
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say, as being a person that, besides being a generalist, I write very niche project in the criminal correctional justice, dealing with topics that are difficult to understand at the average citizen. Yes, I would recommend, if you have a really niche topic, go to a centralized proposal rather than a decentralized one, because you have a better chance of maybe getting an evaluator that is a bit more accustomed to niche things, and go outside of DG EAC or DG employment, because there are other DGs that also have funding lines, and let's spread out a bit, especially if we go to the niche topics. But the one thing I wanted to say to all the colleagues that are starting a journey, please don't write such a perfect project that no one is able to implement, because it's not all about getting the grant. Okay, yes, it is about getting the grant, but then you write such an alternative reality that the partners are going to kill themselves in implementation. So no, don't write that proposal. That is what I wanted to say.
We discussed this with Niels in the other podcast about the indicators, that, there are projects that really overestimate their indicators just to make a wow effect.
And it's not reality, it's not about overestimation. It's also knowing the territory, because I suffered at implementing projects in prison where the coordinator said, please buy some tablets, go through the gate with the tablets, and deliver some super augmented reality proposal. And I was, in what parallel universe do you want me to do that? Has anyone checked legislation? Has anyone checked who evaluated this and said that this is possible? So this is why I'm saying downside, go to planet Earth, go to reality, because there are so many needs in the concrete reality that we don't need to create alternative parallel universes of fantasy and waste money in those places, because the hardcore reality is so much more interesting.
On that note, I think we need to round it up. Now, first, we will have a chance to say goodbye to the dear listeners. You all know the drill. I will land the plane, and then we will say goodbye. So, dear listeners, I really, really, truly hope that you enjoyed this session. It took me a while, but I prepared it especially for you guys out there. Erasmus segment, gathering 3 very, very strong people in to give you feedback, to give you thoughts, to reflect on how to develop the proposal that you eventually will do. So I hope that this is something you can really use out there. As you know, or if you're first timers, you can go to my website, thegrant.eu. There's quite a large back catalog now, also on Erasmus specifically. There's also generic episodes on how to prepare proposals. That's for Horizon Europe, but there are also elements there that you can use when you need to look for partners and so on and so forth. So do that, thegrant.eu. There you will also find the submission the subscription form to join the email list of the grant. This is the way, if you have a sympathy with what I'm doing here, please by all means do subscribe to that. That helps me in my end. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where the fun happens. That's where the thing goes on. This is where I share my things. This is where I share other people's stuff. Also the 3 ladies that are in here today. They know very well that I try to do my best to follow them and like their stuff, bring it on to my followers. I always wonder if I manage to land the plane, but I think that's it. Don't have any more to say. It's been a very nice recording. Thank you so much, all 3 of you. I hope you enjoyed being with me today. So you can all open your microphones, and then let's say goodbye to the dear listeners.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Bye.
Excellent.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.